All right. Am I just checking to make sure I'm actually live? All right, I am. I'm showing up. So today I am actually doing a test for Streamyard because I've never actually used Streamyard to live stream before. I only ever used the old version back in the day when YouTube, I think you could just stream right from YouTube or something. But so today I am going to be doing the Nope Trope Book Tag because I wanted something fun to do as a test for the live stream. So I thought I should just do a book tag because I love book tags. And so I did a quick search of recent book tags and I found this one, which was created by Zoe's All Booked. And she basically listed all of her least favorite tropes in books and made a tag based on that. So I do want to preface this with saying I did not make this list of least favorite tropes. Actually, some of the ones, or maybe it's just one of the tropes listed as like a nope trope that she invented. One of them is one of my favorite tropes. So wanted to point that out that these are not my personal nope tropes, which I think is a really fun phrase, and I kind of want to invent my own, but that's not the point of this video. I am just checking to see like comments and stuff. Okay. There is officially no one watching. It says one viewer, but I know that's me from the other tab. All right. So, if you didn't know how book tags work, which you probably do if you're found this video, actually you might not because you may have randomly stumbled across this on YouTube. So if you didn't know what a book tag is, basically they are questions, and for each question you answer by holding up a book related to that question. So I'll just get started because that's the easiest way to explain what's going on. Let's see, I have my notes over here so I don't ramble on for too long, because when I'm just filming book tags, I can go on forever, and then it's a pain to edit. But I don't have to edit this because it's live, so that's amazing. I also thought live book tags would be super fun because then if you are watching live, you can go ahead and comment on your answers as well, and then we can open up a discussion about it, which would be really cool. That would be if anybody's watching, but no one's watching yet. So maybe someone will join in at some point and add a comment, or you can comment after the fact in the comments of the video once it is like live and available for replay. That's cool too. I'd love to discuss your answers as well because that's always interesting to hear. Yeah, all right. So let's just get right into the tag questions. Oh, somebody's watching. Awesome. All right, I'm going to try and do the selecting the comment thingy. Hello, Tom. You are officially the first viewer of the live stream. So I'm going to get right into the tag questions because that's the interesting part. Oh, and I'm testing out the banners too, which is really cool because look at that. The question just pops up on the screen. I pre-prepared these, but that's really cool. So the first question is eavesdropping with miscommunication. So basically, a lot of times in books and TV shows, somebody overhears something and then makes an assumption, and they're usually wrong, which adds to the fun and the drama of everything. Honestly, miscommunication is one of my favorite, if it's done well, it's one of my favorite things to use in my own personal writing, just because people misunderstand things all the time. and then make assumptions, and then that just leads to all sorts of great drama. As an author, I find that amazing, but I get how it can be frustrating if it's done really weirdly or poorly in a book. So a book that you heard great things about and expected to love but ended up hating. So for this one, I feel like hate is a very strong word. I did not hate this book. I don't know if there's any book I expected to love but ended up like hating, like being really angry about. Most of the books I ended up really, really not liking, I was kind of on the fence about to begin with. I didn't really know if I would like it. I heard good things about it, so I expected to like it more than I did, but that wasn't the question. So I have a lot of books that are very popular that I didn't like, but that's not the question. So for a book that you thought you would love but ended up hating, I have The Last Magician by Lisa Maxwell. This is just a dust jacket because I don't have the book with me. I lent it to my sister because I was like, I'm not reading this anytime soon. So, well, not rereading it anytime soon. And she wanted to read it because it does sound really cool. It's about time traveling magicians, which doesn't that sound amazing? And I think it was actually in one of a Book Utopia, Sasha Alsberg's videos. She mentioned this several times in several different videos. And I was like, that sounds fantastic. It's about this girl who goes back in time and she's a magician and thieves. So like time traveling, thieving magicians. And those are three things that I think are just my cord is surrounding me. What's going on? Those are three things that I just think are really, really fun in books in general. But the thing I didn't like about this book was it started out so good, but like, okay, so it started out good. The first few chapters were very gripping and I was super excited. But once the person actually did the time traveling and went back in time, then it kind of slowed down and it spent like 300 pages slowly developing these different characters. And I almost didn't finish this book. I put it down. I actually bought it. It was in the bargain section for $6. So I would have DNF'd this book if it had been a library book because I was like over 200 pages in and really not enjoying it. It was so slow at times. And then I was like, but I paid money for this, so I'm going to finish this book. And actually, the last 200 pages were really good. That's why I said I didn't end up hating it, but I didn't love it, and I expected it to be a lot better than it was, just from like what I heard about it and the concept. It sounded so amazing, and it made it sound super fast-paced in the thingamajiggy. Like they're trying to find all of these magical artifacts, and like the magicians are, I think they're, what's that word? People don't like them. It's like illegal to be a magician, I think. It's been a while since I read this. So, and then there's like a bubble or something around the city, so the magicians can't leave even though they're persecuted. And there's like all this really interesting stuff going on. And the last 200 pages were really, really good. And there was a plot twist that I was like, ooh, that's cool. But it was kind of boring. And so I do feel like I have to say that because like the first 300 pages were slow. So you may not finish it. It depends how determined you are. So yeah, that's that question. But if you're a very patient person, if you're more patient than me, like I consider giving up so many times, but if you might, if you like slow burn stuff and are okay with waiting a long time to get that payoff, this might be a good read for you. And you might just not be impatient like me, and you might like the slow character development. I don't know. To each their own. But for me, it was just okay. I think I gave it like 2 to 3 stars. Just because the ending was good, but yes. On to the next question. Again, if you're watching, please tell me your answer down below. What is a book that you heard great things about and expected to love, but ended up hating or finding boring? All right, the second one is the one that I had to preface in the beginning, because the second Nope trope that Zoe lists is love triangles. Oh, I should put it on the screen. Yes. This is why I'm testing this out. Yeah, so love triangles are actually one of my favorite tropes. I really enjoy them if they are done well. So I do need to say that I like a good love triangle. I don't like what I personally consider like not a real love triangle, which is what a lot of love triangles actually are. Like they say they're a love triangle, but then it's not really a love triangle. So in order to have a real love triangle, you need to have character A, who is the, I guess, object of affection, and then character B likes character A, and character C also likes character A, and like that's your triangle. But a lot of the times, character A is only actually interested in character B, and then character C is just this random person who has a crush on character A. So that's not a love triangle. That's two people that like each other, and a third like party, like third wheel sitting on the outside who's kind of sad and lonely. For a real love triangle, character A has to be legitimately interested in character B and character C. For example, Vampire Diaries. Elena is interested in both Damon and Stefan. Damon and Stefan have pretty equal chance of ending up with her. If one character does not really have a chance of ending up with the main character, I don't consider it a love triangle, or not really a good one. I had to throw that out there because when I say I like love triangles, like I like the ones where character A is legitimately conflicted and you don't have any idea. Like you have your favorite pick, but you don't know if she or he, it can be a boy, ends up with character B or C. B and C need an equal chance. That's all I'm saying for it to be considered a real love triangle from me. So when I say I love love triangles, and I actually write love triangles in my books, but B and C have equal chance at being chosen in the end. Endgame can go either way in my love triangles. But I have rambled on for like 5 minutes before answering the question. So my thoughts aside, what is the question? Oh, name a series where you can't pick your favorite book. So I didn't want to take it off the shelf because I just decorated, and also they're in a box set. So right back there, you can't really see, but it's the Vampire Academy series by Rochelle Mead. So this is one of my favorite series that I have loved for years and years and years. I'm talking so much, I'm thirsty. My cup is really cool too. My friend gave this to me. Can you see it? Where is it? I don't know if you can see it. Oh, there we go. There we go. Oh, isn't that amazing? It's beautiful. I love it. And then the other side, it was a bridesmaid gift that my friend gave to all her bridesmaids. Oh, the wedding hasn't happened yet, so. So Vampire Academy is a series where I don't think I can pick my favorite book because, okay, I really, really like books 5 and 6. The last 2 books in the series are amazing. Spirit Bound and Last Sacrifice are so good. And it's been a little while since I've read them, so I'm not sure exactly what happens in each one, which might be why this is the answer to this question. But they're both amazing. And, oh, somebody else is here. Hi, Stephanie. Nice to see you again. So I am doing the Nope Trope Book Tag if you missed the beginning, and it's just a fun tag where you answer questions about different books. So the series where I can't pick my favorite book is Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead, and so I really love the last two books. And then book 3 is also really good because that's when the romance really starts to happen. So I really, really like the romance. And it's kind of like the happy time in the romance because after book 4, everything goes wrong. And then book 5 and 6 are kind of trying to get everything back to normal. But yeah, so I don't think I could pick a favorite for Vampire Academy. But I really love that series. And okay, so question 3 is the not like other girls. I don't know, I'm beautiful trope, which is kind of annoying. Yeah, the whole she doesn't like fashion, so she's not like other girls, or she likes books, so she's not like other girls. And I'm like, but lots of people like books. It's not just books, but it's generally a character that thinks they're hideous and in the beginning goes on about how hideous they are, and then they end up having like 20 love interests. So, name a book with a pretty cover that was boring. And for this one, I gotta go with Shadow Scale by Rachel Hartman. Look at this book though, like, first of all, I don't know if you could tell how shiny it is, but like the spine is gorgeous and I'm obsessed with the spine. Like the only reason I'm not getting rid of this book is because the spine just looks so good on my bookshelf. But this is the sequel to Serafina, which is about a girl who's like half dragon. And the dragons in this book are really cool because they can turn into people. Um, and I thought it was really unique. So book 1 was actually amazing and really interesting and just very unique and good. But then book 2, and it's only a duology, so book 2 is the final book, is when she kind of goes off on this separate journey to find more people like her. She's trying to find more like half dragon people. And it's just, she ends up in this one town and it's like 200 pages of her wandering around this incredibly boring town trying to find people. Oh, and there are very long scenes about her in the library doing research, which I don't want to read that. I'm here for like the war was coming. At the end of the book, they're like, the war is coming. There's going to be a giant showdown between these different groups of people. And I'm like, okay, we're going to like gather our army and then it's going to be a really exciting book because there's only one left. But that doesn't happen until the very, very end. I don't even know if it's 100 pages or 50 pages. But this book is long. Like, this book is around, what is it? Yeah, it's like almost 600 pages and now it's flopping everywhere. Get. Anyway. Yeah, it was boring, but I kind of like the cover, so I'm going to keep it. Ah, there's one more person. Let me see if I can do the comment selecting thing. Oh, yeah, you can. Okay. This is why I'm testing this. So Stephanie says hi, and Donovan says hello. Hi, Donovan. And now let's see if I could go back to the questions after doing the shout outs. Oh, that's funny. Okay. Stephanie says her daughter read Shadow Scale as well. Yeah, it's very disappointing after the first book. So, oh, okay. The next question is a more positive one. Well, I guess it's not, considering it's also a nope trope, but the all-consuming love. Again, this is another one that I don't actually dislike that much, but I have very unpopular opinions on tropes because I feel like I like a lot of tropes that people are like hate like really, really hate. But that's just because I feel like it doesn't really matter if a trope is like considered a terrible trope as long as it can still be done and twisted in an interesting way. That's just my philosophy as a writer. So I don't like to say that anything's just like a horrible, horrible trope, except for maybe like abusive relationships. Like that's not really abusive relationships that aren't listed as like bad, ones that are like considered glorified or whatever. But that's not what this question is. So that's my philosophy on tropes. Okay. Someone is asking if they can join the live stream, and I don't know because I'm just kind of practicing with it right now. I'm not sure if I should share the link. Yeah. I do understand, but like, yeah, this is just kind of a practice live stream. Maybe we can work something out another time and do something. Okay, so name a book that gave you a book hangover. So for this one, I will choose Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare because that's the last book that I've read that I was just kind of obsessed with because it was really good. I don't know that I get book hangovers where I can't read another book because I have a weird habit of like the second I finish a book, I need to jump into another book. But it was a book that I was like, this is so good. And I'm not sure if that kind of spoiled the next book that I read because I liked it so much. I just thought it was really, really interesting. So I don't have it with me, unfortunately. I don't own it. It was from the library. Had to give it back. Such a sad time. Okay. Question 5. We're on the second to last question of the tag. The next one is the jerk boyfriend, which is definitely a trope that I don't like. So there's that. And she explained this one. So like it was a boyfriend that starts out as a jerk and is not very nice, but then he ends up coming around at the end and they end up staying together. That character, not like the one where she's like, oh, he's awful, move on to someone else. But this is the one where he starts off being horrible and then he gets nicer. So this one is name a book that took you a while to get into, but you ended up loving. And this one, I thought about this question for so long because I couldn't come up with a book that took me a while to get into that I ended up loving, because usually I don't like books that start out slow because I am an extremely, extremely impatient reader and I need things to get going fast. Otherwise I get bored, which is what my problem was with The Last Magician. I was like, I'm so bored. And I don't like being bored. I read for entertainment, not to be bored. So the only answer I could think of for this one was, again, going back to Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead, which is like back there. I don't know if you can see it. Behind the unicorn sign, it's hiding. And the first book in that series actually took about 100 pages to really get going. And I have to be completely honest, I did DNF that book. And I wouldn't have picked it back up if my friend hadn't read it and said, like, no, it's actually really good once you get past the first 100 pages. You would love it. And it's true. I picked it up again and I did love it because it's such a good series. So that one, Yeah, because what happens, my main problem with that beginning of that book was that it's so she invented three different kinds of vampire. The Moroi, God, I'm gonna butcher this. Moroi, Strigoi, and what something the starts with a D. Dompier. I call it Dehamper for a while, but it's pronounced Dompier. It's like a Russian sounding word, and she didn't actually invent it. It's actually in some really old folklore, and I'm not sure if Strigoi and Moroi are as well. I forget, but anyway, so she invented these terms, and in the beginning of the book, they just kind of throw them out there without really explaining it. They kind of explain the Strigoi, which are like the bad ones, but the other ones, it's like she didn't give a vocabulary lesson until like midway through the book, and so I was just kind of confused, and it just jumps right into the whole society really really fast without explaining anything, and so I was kind of like it wasn't a slow book, it was just confusing. um and so it actually took a while before I understood what was happening, and then I ended up absolutely being obsessed with it. So Vampire Academy for the win again. That should get a prize for answering all of my questions. Oh, and the last question in the tag, and then I will wrap this up because I don't know what to do after the tag is over, is tell us your favorite or least favorite trope, and anyone watching, please feel free to add your favorite or least favorite below. I'm going to talk about my least favorite. Oh, maybe I'll share my favorite real quick. My personal favorite trope is the chosen one, which I know is like everyone hates that so much, but like I'm biased because I'm writing a book about a chosen one, and I call it my chosen one comedy. So I'm doing like a kind of twist on the chosen one. I think hopefully it's twisty enough. But so I actually really like the chosen one because I really like fantasy, and chosen ones are often in fantasy. And I just think it's been done so many ways. Well, it's been done so well so many times that I personally really enjoy it. I see how people get bored of it if it's just done over and over again and it's not original, but I'm not going to not read a book because there's a chosen one. In fact, I might actually read it because of that. So, chosen one is okay with me. My least favorite trope, what did I write? I wrote something for that. Yes. So, this one is kind of a weird one. So, I don't know if anyone like it's not like a huge trope. It's more of like a fantasy specific thing where it's like the okay. It was described in a blog post as fantasy tropes to avoid, and that was the I'll tell you when I see you next trope. Basically a character, usually a side character, often like the mentor character, will find out some like very important information that can change the course of the entire story and world, and then they are talking to the main character and are like, oh, I have this really important information, but like I'll tell you next time we see each other, bye. And then that character always dies, so they don't get to share the information, and I just think that's lazy writing and poorly done. And it does bother me because I'm like, no, you had it. There's no reason for you to not share your information. Oh, yay. I like chosen one and quest type ones. Yes. Chosen ones on their quests. That's my jam. Gotta have a quest. I'm writing a book with 3 quests right now, so that's fun. I sounded sarcastic, but no, it is really fun. Anyway, my least favorite trope, the I'll see you next one. Okay, I feel like as a writer, it can be avoided so easily because all you have to do, there are two ways you could very, very easily avoid this. Is one, they don't see each other. So keep them apart so that they can't be like, I have this information and I'm sharing it. I'm not sharing it with you deliberately because instead of sharing it, I'm saying that I'll tell you next time, which in that time you could have just said the important information. But like, you can just keep them apart so that they're not interacting and they can't do that. They just can't get to each other, or they're trying to get to each other and they can't. Just do something like that. Or if it's a character that needs to be in the story for whatever reason, maybe they need to be in the day-to-day life of this character and you want to have them get the information at some point, all you have to do is, this is a very simple thing to do, is make them not get the information till later in the story. Like, it can be avoided very easily. And I just feel like it's kind of lazy storytelling when people do that, because, like I said, you can easily avoid it just by flipping some events around in the story at some point. It's like, it's a fix you could do editing, and I feel like it's just a really, really big plot hole that can be avoided. And so that's probably one of my least favorite tropes. It's just like, why? Why are you doing this? Yeah. I'm trying to think, are there any other tropes I absolutely can't stand? I mean, I don't like when, I think I mentioned earlier, the love triangle thing. I don't like when a love triangle isn't a real love triangle. I find that kind of irritating. Oh, I also I don't know if this is a trope, but like I don't like the like persistence will, in a romantic situation, I don't like the fact that like just because somebody likes somebody, if the person doesn't like them back, that means they're terrible. This happens a lot in movies where like the guy likes the girl and the girl is not really interested in him, but then he's just super persistent and like, oh, I'll wear her down, she'll learn to like me, and blah 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 blah, and like she's mean because she doesn't like me, and there's like, it's portrayed as that way a lot, like that there's something, like it's mean of her to not like him back, where it's just not true. Like sometimes you're just not attracted to somebody and that's okay, and people need to respect that. But I don't like the fact that it's like perceived as, and it's never really done the other way, because like it's usually a girl's like, oh, he doesn't like me, okay, whatever, or she's sad about it but she's not gonna like keep bugging him. But when it's the opposite way around, a lot of times it is perceived as like, oh, I'll just like keep bothering her until she goes out with me, and I'm like, okay. And oftentimes it ends with them being together, so I'm like, oh, okay, so we're just ignoring the fact that like sometimes people don't like each other and that's fine. Like, you can't help it, you can't control that sort of thing. So, okay. Yes, so Stephanie has a question. I know you like fantasy, but there are other tropes you like reading outside of fantasy. Yes, there are. I do like other things besides fantasy. Fantasy is just like my favorite because magic is fun. So outside of fantasy, I do actually like a lot of cutesy rom-com type books. So I think it's kind of fun. As long as it's done well, I kind of like the like, what is it, hate to love trope. It's kind of fun because the two characters are arguing all the time and then they end up liking each other because it turns out they like each other, because a lot of times they argue because they're kind of similar, or they argue because they're very different but they end up finding common ground. I like that a lot. And I also like the I guess that's similar but not, well, it's not a romance trope, but I also really like the enemies to friends situation where two characters, they don't necessarily have to end up like romantically together, but I think it's really fun when two characters start out like as nemesises or enemies, and then they end up having to team up together and become friends at the end. I think that's really cute and really fun and kind of realistic as well, because sometimes you meet people and you don't always become instant best friends. Um, and so I think those are always fun and really cute. I don't know if there's, yeah. When I read contemporary, I really, really like it to be like kind of cute and fun. I don't read a lot of dramas because I like to watch dramas on TV. So yes, world building is hard. That is definitely like my biggest headache is world building, because that's what I outline. And a lot of the times I'll actually leave the world building till later. So a lot of times I will write the book, and then as long as it's not world building that is super super needed for the story, then of course I'll do that in the beginning. But if it's just like a plot thing and I'm trying to just enrich the world later and bring it to life a little bit more, a lot of times I will write the story and the character development, and then I'll kind of sprinkle in little fun details later. And that's one way to deal with world building. But I understand it's very challenging. Has been my biggest challenge with fantasy, is making a really interesting world. Um, and one tip that I actually found really helpful for world building was that like less is sometimes more with world building. So as much as people love like Lord of the Rings, for example, because the world is so rich and detailed, you don't always need that level of detail. So it's actually sometimes fun to kind of give enough detail for the reader to feel like the world is real, but you don't have to go overboard and you don't have to tell them every tiny little thing about the world, because sometimes, you can imagine and speculate and have a good time in the world without knowing like what everybody eats every day, or like what the farm culture is like. You don't need to know everything all the time. Which I thought that tip was helpful as somebody who kind of underwrites and I don't always know everything ahead of time. I'm definitely like in the middle of the whole plotter pantser debate. I almost said plantser, which is technically what I am, because I plot until I get bored and then I have to write, and then I'll keep, I usually know how book begins and ends, and then sometimes the middle is like the specifics of the middle are kind of like up to my creative mind. I don't know where that sentence went. That sentence, I don't know. It's gone. But yes. So, are there any other last minute questions or anything that we want to discuss? Do you want to talk about any of your favorite books or tropes? I will leave a second for questions because I don't know if there's a lag or not. I'm just like doing things, switching from things behind the scenes. Okay, first book. Yeah, note cards are great. I like them because you can move them around. I did one of my books with the flashcards and, well, index cards. They're not flashcards. Flashcards have writing on them. Index cards, colored index cards. So I like would move them around, which is nice. Um, Yeah, my first book I actually pants too. When I was a teenager, I wrote a book and then I had to go back and edit it, which is now why I outline. All right, no more questions. Yes, it was nice talking to you too. That was really fun. Thank you so much for watching because otherwise there would have been like no questions or comments. Um, and yeah, me and Stephanie are going to be live together on Saturday, October 10th at 3 p.m. We are doing the Worldwide Write-a-thon, and we're going to be doing one of the chats. So it's not necessarily writing sprints, but we'll just be chatting and hanging out and playing like writer games and stuff. And it's going to be a real good time. So we're going to be together, and then we're going to have 3 other co-hosts. So it's going to be really fun. And there's also like 36 hours of live streams and writing sprints. So it's going to be a crazy event. And it's going to end on October 11th. And there's going to be a costume party. So if you want to see that, go to the world, look up Jessica Williamson, and her Worldwide Write-a-thon is what the event is called. She has a whole Instagram account and everything. So yes, that was super fun. Thank you so much for watching. And I hope you enjoyed the book tag. And if you're watching this after the fact, I hope you enjoyed the book tag, and leave your comments below with your answers to the questions, because I would love to hear what tropes you like, what tropes you don't like, and also, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, your answer to the questions, which I already said. I don't know. I normally edit my videos so I can do my outline a bunch of times. Not my outline, my outro, and sound like a intelligent human being. So yes. Yes, it's gonna be so much fun. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you. Actually, I have a video coming out tomorrow, so I will see you then. Bye.